Let's be honest, most men have felt it before. That quiet moment when a woman looks at you just a second longer than necessary, when the room seems to narrow and something unspoken presses against your chest. It's not lust. It's not flirting. It's deeper than that. And if you miss it, you don't just miss a chance with her. You miss a truth about yourself. Because when a woman wants to give herself to you emotionally and fully, it doesn't begin in the bedroom. It begins in the way she feels safe enough to lower her guard around you, even when she doesn't realize she's doing it. Here's the truth. Men are rarely told. Women don't give themselves to confidence alone. They give themselves to emotional leadership. And the first hidden sign appears when she stops performing. Watch closely. When a woman is merely interested, she curates herself. Her words are polished. Her reactions are controlled. But when she begins to want you deeply, something shifts. She starts letting you see the unedited version of her. Her contradictions, her doubts, even her irrational fears. This isn't weakness. It's trust forming in real time. You'll notice it in small moments. She'll say something and then pause, waiting to see how you respond. Not because she's unsure of herself, but because she's testing the emotional ground beneath her feet. Can she be real here? Can she soften without being judged? A woman only does this when she senses you can hold her emotional weight without dropping it or trying to fix her. If your instinct is to interrupt, correct, or dominate the moment, she'll retreat. If you listen and stay grounded, she leans in, sometimes without realizing it. Another sign hides in how she shares her past. When a woman wants to give herself to you, she doesn't glorify her history. She reframes it. She talks about old pain, not to gain sympathy, but to see whether you understand it. This is crucial. She's asking a silent question. Will you punish me for who I was, or will you see who I became? Your response imprints itself on her nervous system. Calm acceptance signals safety. Judgment shuts the door permanently. Pay attention to how she handles silence with you. Silence terrifies most people. But when a woman is emotionally opening to you, she stops filling every gap with noise. She allows pauses. She lets moments breathe. This is not boredom. It's comfort. It means your presence regulates her, not excites her anxiety. Men who mistake this for loss of attraction often sabotage something rare by trying to force intensity. The strongest pull happens when nothing is forced at all. There's also a subtle shift in how she asks for your opinion. She doesn't ask to be validated. She asks to be understood. She wants to see how your mind works, how you process life, pressure, and people. This is her mapping your inner world because she's considering stepping into it. Women don't do this casually. They do it when they're deciding whether you're someone they can emotionally rest with, not just desire. Understand this now. When a woman wants to give herself to you, she's not chasing excitement, she's choosing alignment. And that choice begins long before touch, in the quiet moments where she feels seen without being exposed. If you can recognize this, you stop chasing signs and start becoming the man those signs respond to. Most men think desire shows up loud. They look for obvious signals, dramatic gestures, physical closeness. But when a woman truly wants to give herself to you, the signs become quieter, more intimate, almost invisible to the untrained eye. This is where men either rise into emotional mastery or unknowingly push her away. One of the strongest hidden signs appears in how she reacts to your emotional steadiness under pressure. Watch what happens when you disagree, when plans change, when something goes wrong. If she's merely attracted, she becomes defensive or distant. But if she wants to give herself to you, she watches you closely in those moments. Not your words, your regulation, your tone, your calm. A woman bonds deeply to a man who doesn't emotionally spike when life does. Stability is seductive because it signals safety at a primal level. You'll feel it when she starts mirroring your emotional rhythm. Humans subconsciously sync with those they feel connected to, but women do this most intensely when emotional attachment forms. She begins matching your pace, your pauses, even your breathing during conversation. This isn't manipulation, it's resonance. Her nervous system is aligning with yours. When that happens, attraction shifts from surface-level chemistry to something embodied and deep. Another sign hides in how she lets you lead without resistance. This doesn't mean obedience, it means trust. She stops challenging every decision just to test you. She becomes receptive to your direction because she feels you're attuned to her well-being, not your ego. Leadership to a woman isn't control, it's containment. When she senses you can hold the direction of a moment while respecting her autonomy, something inside her relaxes. And relaxed femininity is where surrender begins. Pay attention to how she handles your flaws. When a woman wants to give herself to you, she doesn't try to change you. Immediately, she accepts the rough edges first. That acceptance isn't approval, it's discernment. She's watching whether you take responsibility for yourself or collapse into defensiveness. If you own your imperfections without shame, you deepen her attraction. If you justify or blame, you signal emotional immaturity. Women don't surrender to boys who need protecting. They open to men who can stand in truth. There's also a shift in how she includes you in her inner world. She starts sharing not just events but interpretations, how things made her feel, why certain moments lingered. This is critical. She's allowing you access to her emotional processing, something she guards fiercely. When she gives you that access, she's not asking for solutions. She's inviting presence. The man who listens without hijacking the moment becomes irreplaceable. Notice how she responds to your absence, not with anxiety, not with coldness, but with consistency. When a woman wants to give herself to you, she doesn't cling and she doesn't disappear. She stays emotionally steady even when you're not around. That steadiness means she's integrating you into her sense of self, not attaching from fear. That's the foundation of real intimacy. Here's the hard truth. These signs only appear when you stop performing masculinity and start embodying it. When you don't chase her emotions, but allow them. When you don't rush connection, but create space for it. A woman gives herself where she feels both free and held. Become that man, and you won't have to ask whether she wants you. You'll feel it long before she ever says it. Too many men miss the moment entirely because they focus on the wrong signs. They chase attention, chase flirtation, chase the visible. But a woman ready to give herself to you signals it in her vulnerability before any passion ignites. And that vulnerability doesn't scream. It whispers in ways most men aren't trained to hear. One of the most overlooked signs is how she talks about other men. Not in jealousy, not in games, but in honest reflection. When a woman wants to give herself to you, she stops performing social comparison. She doesn't brag, she doesn't test. She might mention another man casually, but her focus quickly returns to you. Her attention gravitates naturally, not out of compulsion, but because she's beginning to prioritize emotional intimacy over social validation. If you're emotionally awake, you notice this shift immediately. Another subtle indicator is how she invests time in your emotional growth without being asked. She'll share articles, quotes, stories, or insights because she wants to see how you interpret them. She's mapping your intellectual and emotional landscape, not manipulating it. This is different from casual curiosity. It's selective energy. She's deciding whether your mind and heart can hold her depth, whether your presence aligns with her evolution. Watch her touch patterns, not just flirtatious brushing or playful nudges, but thoughtful, grounding touches. A hand on your arm, a deliberate lean in during conversation, a quiet brush of hair from your shoulder. These moments are unconscious tests, seeing if your body can accept her presence without overreaction or discomfort. Physical intimacy follows, but emotional receptivity comes first. She measures safety before giving herself. Pay attention to her reactions to your nonverbal cues. Silence, gaze, posture. All of these become magnified signals. If she wants to give herself, she mirrors subtle shifts in your mood and energy, even when you think you're hiding them. She senses tension, calm, confidence, or doubt before you speak. And she adjusts not to control, but to harmonize. This is deep, unconscious alignment. Only a woman emotionally open to you invests this level of attention. Notice how she includes you in decisions about her life, not just casually, but meaningfully. She seeks your perspective on choices, sometimes small, sometimes deeply personal. This isn't about testing your value. It's about seeing if you can occupy the space of partner, guide, and emotional anchor simultaneously. If your response is grounded, thoughtful, and calm, you deepen her willingness to trust. Finally, observe how she communicates her needs indirectly. She may not always state what she wants, but she drops clues, hints, or subtle requests. When a woman wants to give herself, she trusts that you'll perceive these cues without being asked. Your attentiveness becomes a measure of how safe she feels revealing more of herself. Men often overlook this, rushing to action rather than observation. Here's the truth. When a woman wants to give herself, she's already decided in quiet, invisible ways. She's testing, aligning, and observing. Your role isn't to chase, manipulate, or prove. Your role is to be present, attuned, and grounded. When you master this, she doesn't just want you, she feels you. And feeling you is the first step toward giving herself fully. Most men never notice this, but one of the clearest signs a woman wants to give herself is how she handles your emotional boundaries. She's not testing you with drama or games. She's watching how you hold space for her feelings without losing yourself. This is where attraction deepens beyond desire and surface-level charm. If you respond with patience and composure, she begins to trust you with the parts of herself she's been guarding most fiercely. You'll see it in how she shares insecurities. When a woman is merely interested, she may mention fears lightly, almost jokingly, keeping it safe. But when she's ready to surrender emotionally, she will reveal doubts, fears, and past mistakes without the shield of humor. This is terrifying for her, even if it seems casual. She's risking judgment because she senses you can handle her truth. If your instinct is to judge, correct, or fix, you break that bond instantly. If you listen, she leans deeper into you. Another hidden sign is how she tests your empathy subtly. She might tell a story about a friend, a coworker, or a relative who is struggling, not seeking advice but observing your reaction. Your level of understanding and emotional presence tells her everything about how safe she can be with you. If you respond with genuine interest and calm compassion, she begins to anchor herself emotionally to you. If you respond with impatience or distraction, she retreats. Women unconsciously scan for emotional reliability before giving themselves fully. Notice how she responds to your humor and lightness, too. When a woman wants to give herself, laughter becomes a tool of connection, not just entertainment. She'll share in private jokes, tease gently, and mirror your playfulness. This isn't shallow. It's chemistry intertwined with comfort. Humor becomes a bridge for intimacy, signaling that she's comfortable enough to reveal joy and vulnerability simultaneously. Pay attention to her patience with your flaws. She won't overlook them blindly, but she won't reject them immediately either. She observes how you handle criticism, mistakes, or uncertainty. Her attraction grows when she senses that you own your life without defensiveness. A man who stabilizes his own world allows a woman to open hers. Without that, no amount of charm, looks, or confidence will move her toward emotional surrender. Finally, observe how she engages with your presence, not your achievements. She notices your energy more than your status. She senses when you are distracted, tired, or reflective. She doesn't need you to perform or impress. She responds to your authenticity. This is the kind of attention that precedes intimacy, the silent agreement that she can exist fully around you without masks or pretenses. Here's the unspoken reality. Women give themselves emotionally only when they feel entirely safe, seen, and validated. Not through ego, control, or dominance, but through presence, stability, and empathy. If you cultivate this, you aren't just attractive. You become irreplaceable. And when a woman reaches that level of trust, physical and emotional surrender follows naturally, like water finding its path. You don't force it, you allow it. Most men think intimacy begins in the bedroom. They chase physical signs and misread signals, never realizing that real surrender starts in the mind and heart. When a woman wants to give herself to you, she signals it long before any touch happens. And if you miss these moments, you may never experience the depth she is willing to offer. One of the most telling signs is how she prioritizes time with you. Not just convenience, but intention. She doesn't just fit you in. She consciously chooses moments to connect, even in small ways. It's not about control or testing you. It's about alignment. She's showing that your presence matters enough to structure her life around it without sacrificing her autonomy. That's emotional commitment forming silently beneath the surface of everyday interactions. Watch how she communicates, physically without overt intention. A hand brushing yours, a light touch on the back, or leaning slightly closer during conversation. These are all subconscious ways she's testing comfort, receptivity, and presence. She's measuring if your physical and emotional responses are in harmony with her own. This is how desire and trust intertwine long before the words, "I want you," ever leave her lips. Notice her curiosity about your inner world. She asks questions that matter. Not the surface level, "What do you do?" or "Where have you been?" but deep reflective questions about values, fears, and dreams. She wants to understand you fully because she's envisioning a connection beyond the casual, beyond the fleeting. When she invests energy in understanding your emotional and mental landscape, it signals that she's considering giving herself completely. Another sign is how she reacts to your absence. She doesn't panic, stalk, or force attention. Instead, she maintains the quiet, consistent connection. She might check in thoughtfully, share something meaningful, or reference a conversation you had earlier, not to manipulate, but to reaffirm connection. This demonstrates that she's already integrating you into her emotional world, even when you're not physically present. Pay attention to how she expresses desire for partnership, not control. She'll discuss hopes, fears, and possibilities with you in ways that feel collaborative rather than demanding. She's looking for a man who can meet her emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, not just sexually. When a woman is ready to give herself, she values mutual alignment over drama, stability over games, and authenticity over appearances. Finally, notice how she softens around you. Her walls lower not because of words or charm, but because of consistent, grounded presence. She allows herself to be playful, tender, and honest. She seeks closeness, but without pressure, revealing a trust that is both rare and precious. This is the invisible threshold every man must recognize. Emotional surrender precedes physical surrender, and it is earned through patience, presence, and unwavering stability. Here's the truth few men understand. When a woman reaches this point, she is not just attracted, she is ready to invest herself entirely. And this investment, once granted, transforms connection from mere attraction into something unforgettable, something that leaves a lasting imprint on both your life and hers. If you've made it this far, you're beginning to see the pattern. A woman ready to give herself doesn't shout it. She whispers it through trust, presence, and subtle cues that most men overlook. And understanding these signs is only half the equation. The other half is how you respond. Because if you misstep, you lose the opportunity she's quietly offering. One of the most powerful signs is how she handles your boundaries. She doesn't push, manipulate, or test recklessly. Instead, she respects your space while subtly observing how you navigate hers. This balance is critical. She's determining if you are someone who can hold both your power and her vulnerability without tipping the delicate scale. A man who fails here, who oversteps or withdraws, signals that she cannot safely give herself. But a man who holds steady becomes her anchor. Notice how she expresses subtle acts of generosity. She invests energy in making your life easier, sharing insight, or creating moments that resonate emotionally. These are not grand gestures for recognition, they're quiet confirmations of care. When a woman gives herself, she aligns her actions with her emotions, showing you through behavior that she's choosing to open fully. These gestures are easy to miss, but they are profound markers of intention. Pay attention to the way she integrates you into her future imaginings. She might speak hypothetically about trips, projects, or experiences, always including you. Naturally, she's assessing whether you belong in the narrative she is building for herself. This isn't casual curiosity, it's an emotional litmus test. When she begins doing this consistently, she is mentally preparing to commit parts of her life to you without coercion. Another hidden sign is her emotional consistency. She doesn't swing wildly between extremes of attachment and withdrawal. Instead, she communicates in ways that feel steady and deliberate. Even when she is nervous or unsure, this reflects a deep internal choice. She is choosing to trust you despite uncertainty. Emotional reliability is a magnet for deeper connection, and it signals that she is ready to offer herself without reservation. Finally, watch how she reacts when you mirror her authenticity. If you express vulnerability, share dreams, or show imperfection, she responds with openness rather than retreat. Her attraction grows not because you impress her, but because you create a space where her truth can exist without fear. This is the pinnacle of connection. When two people resonate on an emotional and psychological level, desire naturally follows. Here's the ultimate truth. Giving herself isn't a decision made lightly. It's a culmination of trust, alignment, and perception that you are capable of holding her fully, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. If you've been paying attention to these hidden signs, you already know the equation. Presence plus patience plus emotional mastery equals access to a woman's true openness. Now here's a question for you. If trust builds in silence, alignment grows in patience, and emotional presence equals attraction. What's the sum of your readiness to hold a woman the way she deserves? Comment your answer below, like this video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Your attention could change the way someone experiences love forever.